The Bills take down the Chiefs in dramatic fashion this week on the Wandering Buffalo podcast.
You're now listening to the Wandering Buffalo podcast with your hosts, Andrew Chang and Justin Goddard.
All right, welcome into another episode of the Wandering Buffalo podcast, a show here on the Buffalo Fanbase Network. I am one of your hosts tonight, or evening, depending on when you're listening to this, but it is a wonderful time to listen to this podcast because, as Justin mentioned in the prelude of this episode, the Buffalo Bills have taken down the Kansas City Chiefs in what a dramatic game. Seems like every time whenever these two teams play, it's just drama, and I can't even explain how my heart rate is right now. But like I said, I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Andrew Chang, and you can find me on Twitter, social media, all that good stuff. Just like this podcast on most social media platforms and on YouTube by searching up the Wandering Buffalo podcast. His name is Justin Goddard. And Justin, how are you feeling? How are your palms? Are they sweaty? How you feeling?
My palms have been sweaty since about, 4:45. You said it, man. My heart rate is like starting to come back down to earth, but now we're about to talk about it, so it's coming back up. This is just, like you said, whenever we're playing the Chiefs, it's just drama. And there's mistakes that we've seen with the Bills so far this season that it's like, our offense can make up for that. And playing the Chiefs is a whole different animal. You know, you see a little mistake here, a missed fourth down here, and I'm like, oh, that's it. Like, how do we do it now? And to pull this one out, man, it wasn't a perfect game. There's plenty of things to work on, but boy, does it feel good right now.
Yeah, so let's talk about, we'll split this up into kind of two segments, as we always do. So let's focus on the good half of, let's talk about the negative stuff first here, overall, and then we'll talk about the positive stuff to wrap things up, to end on a good note. Sound like a plan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, oh man, and I don't think you can start off, I don't know how you talk about the negatives and you don't talk about these refs. Like, oh my God, it just felt like every 5 seconds there was just a flag thrown on the Bills, and I'm trying to like find the penalties on what we did here. I can't find it, but it really did feel like there were just so many flags getting thrown towards on Buffalo, and it really just felt like the Bills had to overcome a little bit of themselves, the Chiefs, and then the referees. And that's not to say that, the Bills didn't get away with a flag here or there, because they did. They definitely got away with like a holding penalty against Deion Dawkins and I think Frank Clark he with a jersey pull. But it just, overall, like that kind of play that Deion Dawkins got away with, I felt like the Chiefs were just getting away with that stuff all night long. So let's just start off by talking about the refs, because I feel like they really influenced this game in such a negative, one-sided way that it could have been really bad for the Bills had they not won this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, there wasn't a dumb amount of flags thrown in this game. There was 12 total. For me, it was more of the ones that were missed, and the biggest one, the one that I can't ignore and say that it's kind of, part of the game, human error, all that, was that Chris Jones tripping on Josh Allen.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and we saw Josh get up, and he's all fired up, and you and I both know, like, Josh likes to chirp the refs. He likes to, try to get
He
the
was
call.
pissed.
Right. So when they showed that replay, the first time through live action, I was like,
maybe.
I don't know, that looked weird. And then when you see it and, like,
it's blatant.
It's very obvious. And for me, that's a call where you have the back ump, like, he's looking at the quarterback. They're looking for the roughing the passers. They're looking for all that stuff in the backfield, the holding. And, like, the play happens at the ball. And, like, to miss that is
Inexcusable.
Right.
Yeah. Seriously.
No other words for it. Yeah.
And then, you know what, to add insult to injury, right after that, there was that block in the back on the punt that we didn't get called. And it was just like, oh my God, like this can't really happen. And it really was just like, I don't even know what to say about these refs. And again, I always say this, like, if you're going to call a game like that, you got to call it both ways, right? I feel like we weren't getting that benefit. And, you know, whatever, it's such a small thing to really, you know, really harp on in the grand scheme of things, considering we won. But at the time during the game, you can't tell me, if you're listening to this, that you really weren't just like kind of pissed off with these refs, because I was livid for a hot minute. I don't know if you want to say anything more about those refs before we move on to some other negative plays that have happened.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I was glad you brought up the block in the back that happened right after, because that was the next one I was going to mention. And same thing as the tripping one, is it's right where the action is. It's right where the refs are looking, like it's right there. It's so obvious. Everybody can see it at home. Like these are just calls. I understand, you know, there's some holding, you know, some pass interference that might fly under the radar a little bit with the speed of the game. But these ones that are happening, you know, right where the ball is, right where the action is, these are calls that need to get these calls right.
Yeah. I think we got to move on here to the next negative aspect of the game. And I got to give it to Isaiah McKenzie. Like, I was around a lot of people, and they were just saying, we got to cut this man. We got to cut this man. And I was just like, I wasn't there. I was like, he needs to get benched for some time, because at this moment, he is hurting the team more than he's helping it. At one point, they showed his statistics of the game, 1 for 5 for like 5 yards. And like, if McKenzie doesn't trip, if McKenzie holds on to that football, if McKenzie holds on to the other football out of like the drive that the Bills went 98 yards down the field and scored a touchdown, like maybe this game is a little different. But, you know, this is with the power of hindsight, right? And it's hard to complain about his overall performance considering we won, but I really think that he was a net negative to this team and like their production today, which isn't great because we know McKenzie's awesome when he's on. Like, when he's doing the right things, there is a lot to really like about him. His personality, he's the face of the franchise. Well, he might not be the face of the franchise right now. He might be the bottom of the franchise, but like that's okay. He just had a really, really tough day.
Yeah, McKenzie's a really hard one for me to like sit here and pile on, because he's such a likable dude. He's such a fun person.
A lot of energy.
We see the stuff like in the locker room post game. We see him singing Backstreet Boys. Like, McKenzie's at the heart of all of that, and like I absolutely love him, but he's a human, and like all of us, he went out there today. He had a bad day, and I don't doubt that he can bounce back next week. I'm not going to be in the cut him bandwagon circle. I mean, he certainly needs to, you know, kind of have a little check there of, you know, Khalil Shakir is chomping at the bit to get that spot, and he's played pretty well in limited action. So maybe a little step back and take a hard look at this film this week. But yeah, McKenzie, he did not have a good day at all today.
Yeah, definitely not. And we're not going to throw a whole lot of dirt on it because, like you said, some people have bad days at work. I can't tell you how many times I clock in and then leave, like clock out and just think to myself, like, wow, I really just did absolutely nothing today. Like,
today wasn't the day. I
got paid to do nothing, like nothing whatsoever, and they're bringing me back the next day. Like, you know, I really do think McKenzie can bounce back. So it's not like Nate Peterman, right? Nate Peterman, like, it's like if you went to work every day and consistently broke like every project that you were working on like 8 days in a row, and then they'd be like, okay, maybe we gotta get rid of this Justin guy. Like,
broke another computer, boss.
Yeah, that's a whole different story. So let's relax on the McKenzie thing. I love him. I think he can bounce back. I know I've said that before, but hey, it was a tough outing for him, no doubt about that. The next thing I'm going to talk about that I personally didn't like was the fact that the Bills really didn't have an answer for, Travis Kelce. The man went 8 catches for 108 yards. Just stupid. Stupid. He's so big. Now, it's crazy because I swear he's so big and so physical, and everyone around him looks so much smaller because, well, they are. But I feel like he just naturally can just do a push-off with just his, like, just doing, like, a little bit of just like a little bit of an elbow rotation, 45 degrees, and I feel like you're flying off of him. Like when Cam Lewis came in the game, it literally looked like David versus Goliath, and I just thought to myself, like, Cam Lewis is about to get burned, and they went right after him immediately. Sure. Now, Travis Kelce, he's the best tight end in football. What do you expect? But what really makes me upset is that the TikTok dancer himself had 5 catches for 113 yards now and a touchdown. Now, one of those catches was a really big one, which is inexcusable because 3 Bills were on him, and he got touched by all 3 Bills, and they couldn't bring him down, and he ran in for a touchdown. Like, Juju is not that big. He's not DK Metcalf. If that was DK Metcalf, I'd be like, all right, that's on par for DK Metcalf. We're talking about Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, get out of here. Like, come on. That stuff cannot happen with this defense. We are too good to let a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster get 5 catches for 113 yards.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a spot with you here where, like, that's how my gut feels. And then, so as a whole, I kind of had the defense in this, like, gray area of plus minus. Like, the defense that we've seen so far this year is just, like, absolutely shutting teams down. You know, a lot of what we saw last year of just this number one dominant defense. And today it didn't feel like that, but I have to look at it at the same time as this is that potent Chiefs offense. This is Patrick Mahomes. And at the end of the day, you know, holding them to 20 points, I can't be super mad at that. Like, this is one of the young quarterbacks in the league that's had ridiculous success. Paired up with Andy Reid, also just ridiculous success. So yeah, there was definitely spots where we got beat up today, and the Travis Kelce one bothers me more than Juju. Just because we've been dealing with it for so long. You know, you'd think that we would have some sort of answer, but then I hear during the broadcast, Bills defense is number 1 in the league at shutting down tight ends, and we're still here having
He's
problems.
Still got 100 yards,
and we're still having problems with Travis Kelce.
That just shows you how good he actually is. And it's either that or the Bills are just like, no, we're gonna keep everything in front of you and let Kelce get these like dink and dunks.
Yeah, and hey, end of the day, I'll take his 100-yard game today over him having his 25 yards and 4 touchdowns last week. I'll take
everyone's
this
like,
one.
oh my God, Travis Kelce had 4 touchdowns. I was like, yeah, but he like over 25 yards. Like, I'll give you, I mean, granted, the 4 touchdowns is 4 touchdowns, but like, come on. Like,
I'll take this game over that.
Yeah, I'll definitely take this game over that because 4 touchdowns, just stupid. The last thing I personally want to say that I didn't like was the fact that we were driving right off the bat. And I guess this goes with McKenzie again, but like the Bills, sometimes when we're playing games, doesn't it feel like this team sometimes just can't get out of their own way? And I think that pitch to McKenzie, where McKenzie wasn't even like looking for it. So, I mean, I get where McKenzie's like, oh, I didn't know it was coming, but at the same time, like, dude, you know what the play is. You have to pay attention. So it's kind of on him too, but I'm just thinking to myself, like, hey, why did we get in the red zone and turn the football over willingly to the Chiefs, who immediately go down and get a tutty off that. Insane.
Yeah, I wrote that one down in capital letters here. We got too cute, and that was.
I don't even think it was cute. It was just poorly executed.
Yeah, it was
just like that Singletary run, that third down run where he jumps, he cuts, and he can go into the middle, and he can split defenders, fall forward, get the first down. But he's like, "No, I'm actually gonna make a left instead." Like, it reminds me of like that meme that goes for like the exit that could go straight, but it's just drifting hard to the right. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the freeway exit.
Yeah, get the first down, or like just drift into the left. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that play, like, yeah, some blame goes to Josh Allen, some goes to McKenzie on that, but for me that's just like that little bit of extra play call there. Yeah. It reminded me of like some Brian Dable situational stuff last year where it's like save that kind of play for like when you need a spark. Like, people aren't expecting this option play to McKenzie. On that drive, we're taking it the length of the field. We're doing it with like a very conventional, it almost looked like a West Coast offense. It was, we're running for 9 yards a carry, these quick hit passes that are getting yards after reception. And then we do this like weird little half gadget play.
Kind of weird, yeah.
Yeah,
But if it worked, we're raving.
It's one of those ones where if it works, Dorsey's a genius. But in that situation, I think if you had 2-3 more plays, 2-3 more standard plays at that down and distance, we get a touchdown on that drive. So
I lied. There's actually one more thing I wanted to talk about in terms of negative stuff, and that is the fact that the Bills let the 13 seconds thing basically happen again, but in the end of the second quarter instead of, the fourth quarter where it really came back to bite us. I could not believe, like, the Chiefs have 16 seconds left. They squib it this time. I'm like, oh, wow, look at that. Takes 4 seconds off the clock. They have 12 seconds left. They run a play. Gain some yards. It's 7 seconds off the clock. So what's that? 16, 12, and then there's like 5, 6 or some seconds left. I don't know. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, there's no way that they can get into field goal range. There's that red target line, and they throw a pass, call a timeout, with 1 second left, which I'm like, of course something like this is going to happen, but it's a 62-yard field goal. This is pretty long, and then Bucker literally, that thing was good from like 70, I swear.
Right?
Like, that thing was a rocket, and, credit to him, because that was a monstrous kick, and I'll give the Chiefs credit for getting it up the field that fast, but you got to be kidding me. How embarrassing for us. Like, I don't have PTSD, and I'm not, trying to make fun of it, but like, I really just had some flashbacks, and I was like, oh my God, like, no, not again.
Yeah, I was definitely feeling that. I was like, oh, I'm glad that it's 16 seconds that we're kicking this ball off with, and not 13, because we'd never hear the end of it. And then we do the squib kick, and I'm like, oh, great, cool, we ran time off the clock, but they still have time. And then, like you said, all of it happens again. I'm like,
you got to be kidding me.
If we lose this game and it's like a 3-point game,
we're looking back, like, that's going to be the narrative. 16 seconds, 13 seconds, it don't matter. Like, Chiefs by 3 or something.
For the rest of the season, for the next time we play the Chiefs in perpetuity, like, I don't want to hear it. I'm so glad that we came out on top for that reason alone.
Yeah, and like I said, how embarrassing. Like, the Bills, and I put a tweet out there, like, the Bills need to really revamp like their defense when it's less than 20 seconds on the clock.
You have the number 1 defense in the league. Play it like you would play any long passing down, like a 3rd and 15. Don't give these 25-yard cushions that are only
this is where I'm like,
a touchdown.
I feel like the Bills are in there. They can't get out of their own way in that light, in that aspect. Whatever.
Give a 10-yard cushion. Not a 25-yard cushion. That's all.
Yeah, a lot of pointing and to the negative stuff here, but overall, pretty solid game considering we won, and it did not disappoint. It was a tight game. So we're going to take a quick break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Bills Vader. Now back to the show.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around for this second half of the episode of the Wandering Buffalo podcast. Again, you can find our podcast on the Buffalo Fanbase Network, on most social media platforms, and even on YouTube. And again, this episode is presented to you by 26 Shirts. Justin, we already covered the negative parts of this Kansas City Chiefs game, but let's talk about the positives here. And there is a lot of positive things to really talk about. And then we'll get to awards at the end, of course. We got to start with Josh Allen. Always with Josh Allen. He goes 27 of 40. I think that's like 67.5. We'll call it
We don't
that.
do math around here.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not a mathematician, that's for sure, or a statistician. Anyway, he had a really good day at the office, minus that weird flick fumble thing. I think he did a really good job. He called the right plays. He took the right choices. No interceptions, and 329 yards. Like, we'll get to this when we talked about the receivers. It seemed like a quiet 329 yards. Like, I don't know if that's me, because it felt like the Bills were running the ball pretty damn well out there, if I'm not gonna lie. Actually, yeah, they ran on average, let's see here, 4 yards a carry, 31 carries for 125 yards. That's pretty good. So the Bills were definitely on the ground and through the air. But in general, it all starts with Josh Allen, and we got to talk about that hurdle, baby. This man, he's good for one hurdle every time he plays against the Chiefs, I feel like, at this point. Every time.
Yeah, my wife Leanne's sitting on the couch, and she doing homework, looks up when that play happens. She's like, oh my gosh, he can jump that high? I can't believe he jumped that high. And I was like, yeah, he did that last time we played them too. And
yeah.
It's just unbelievable, the athleticism he has for a quarterback. And kind of like you said, it was kind of like this sneaky 330-yard passing game. I feel like the first drive he started out just like absolutely on fire. That weird fumble thing happens, and then the Chiefs kind of started dialing up these blitzes and pressure looks and all this, and kind of like through the second half of the first quarter, going into halftime, it was kind of like this dip for Josh Allen.
They showed like some weird stats, like he started off 6 of 6 and then went 4 for 10.
Yeah.
And then completed the next 13-something passes.
Yeah, I feel like there was... this is where I have to give credit to Dorsey and the coaching staff. I feel like there had to be some halftime adjustments here of just like the pressure started coming again in the second half, and then we started having these hot reads, these receivers, coming free one-on-one, and Josh just kind of trusting the receivers. So like it started high, it dipped down, and then it just surged up to finish the game at the optimum timing.
Yeah, for sure. And Josh Allen, man, I gotta tell you, I'm so happy 17 plays for the Buffalo Bills, man. We always got a chance. Like, if I'm telling you, if we have any other quarterback not named Josh Allen, and obviously Patrick Mahomes, I don't think we win that game. I truly don't think we win that game. Like, we need one of those two guys to have that type of game in order for us to win. And we have one of those guys. So, it's lit.
It's great.
Yeah, let's talk about the rushing attack here, because I think that Singletary definitely just proved, like, hey, I'm the better back. 17 carries, 85 yards, 5 yards on average. This man looked good on the ground, minus that weird, double jump cut thing that we talked about earlier. He was just way better. And Zach Moss, healthy scratch. James Cook got in the game. 2 carries for 8 yards, 4 yards on average. Like, okay, that's fine. At least it wasn't for anything negative. But Josh Allen, the second leading rusher. Devin Singletary finally takes his crown as the team's leading rusher out here. And Josh Allen has 12 for 32 with the infamous hurdle. I don't know, man. He's just so good. He can just impose his will through the air and on the ground. And the fact that we talk about, and we're going to talk about him again in the rushing, the passing or the receiving area. I can't even talk right now just because, like, how much energy and juice I have from that game. But Devin Singletary, man, he just proved that he is the guy in the backfield. Zach Moss trending down, everyone else trending up.
Yeah, this is the first game for me that I feel like we've actually seen Singletary take on that, like, full-on lead running back role.
That bell cow? Is that what they call it? The bell cow? Ding ding.
And even at that, 17 carries, like, it's not this ridiculous number of carries that he got. But usually we see, like, 6 to 8, and then somebody else has 4, somebody has 3, and it's kind of split up that way. Singletary was given the workload today, and I feel like he's been listening to the media. He's been scrolling the apps and been like, "Oh, the Bills are talking about CMC. Bet I'm about to put down my best game of the season."
I mean, don't get me wrong. If we got CMC, I'm not going to be upset.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be upset about it.
We'll just have them both on the field at the same time.
Could you imagine? Oh my God.
But yeah, Singletary came out. He had the best game of the season so far, and that's not even counting what he added in the passing game. And honestly, one of my complaints in this game that I kind of forgot about is in certain situations, I feel like we kind of were like forcing the passing game when it wasn't working.
And like when we got down to the end zone, we were running it so well.
Yeah, we were averaging like 9 yards
a carry or something like that. And then we just throw 2 passes in a row. Like,
yeah,
like, come on. Like, I can't believe I'm saying, let's take the ball out of Josh Allen's hand.
Right.
But, like, it's working.
I'm never here for, like, pass less, rush more, but
pass less and rush more.
Here I am saying it, you got to ride the hot hand, and Singletary was having a great game, and there was just a few situations where I feel like we could have dipped back into the well and got him to that 100-yard mark. He earned it today. He had a great game.
Oh yeah. And you know who else had a great game? Great game. There's 3 of them, but the big one is Stephon Diggs. I did not feel like when I watched this game that he had 10 catches for 148 yards. I know he had that one long touchdown catch, but I didn't think that at the end of the day that he would have 150 yards basically off 10 catches. Like, it was just so quiet. I was just like, like I wonder where Diggs is at, and then they show his stats at the end. I'm like, oh my God, this man really just went off so quietly, and I had no idea. So that just shows you that the Bills had other people contributing to this success, like Gabe Davis. He had 3 catches, 474 yards and a touchdown. Dawson Knox, 3 catches, 37 yards and a touchdown. And then everyone else. Like, everyone else played a role. Even Tommy Sweeney had a big catch. 1 catch, 7 yards, moved the chains basically.
First down.
It was just everyone who touched the ball, minus Isaiah McKenzie, basically, had a really, really strong day at the office. So, I overall for the offense, I'm very happy. And we're going to transition to defense real quick, so I'll let you kind of wrap up the offensive, like, good stuff here.
Yeah, I feel like I've said this for, like, the last 3 weeks, either on the show or just kind of talking to you guys. I feel like this is the week that Diggs has, like every week. It's kind of like, oh, it doesn't feel like Diggs is having a big game, and then I'm like, how are we sitting at? I looked at it somewhere in like the third quarter, and it was like 7 catches for like 90 yards, and I was like, when the hell did that happen? And then the 31-yard touchdown goes in there, and all of a sudden he had a 10-catch, 150-yard day with a touchdown, and I feel like even now knowing that it happened, I'm trying to think back to all the plays, and like it just doesn't compute with me. I think part of that is we are improving on some of the yards after catch. Diggs in particular with that, it seems like he's doing a little bit extra more than we've seen last year. Then the other guys you talked about, Gabe Davis has another one of those.
Amazing.
Yeah, he just produces so much on. I've never seen somebody produce so much on such limited targets.
He's just a home run hitter.
Yeah, he gets 6 targets, 3 catches, 74 yards, and a touchdown. Like, yeah, give me that every week.
Yeah.
What does have me a little bit concerned with this game receiving wise is, like you kind of mentioned, like those two and then everybody else. There was everybody else contributing, and they had, like you said, Tommy Sweeney had a key play. Singletary had a couple of first downs receiving. But after those top 2 receiving options, it was kind of like, meh. And I know that was something where, McKenzie had an off day today, and, Crowder's down with an injury. We saw Shakir come in and make, he had
a really good play because Josh Allen was just like, hey, if these 2 guys come, I'm throwing this specific route. So communication was definitely super, super strong, and I cannot stress to you how important it is for communication and how it leads to success. Everyone's on the same page. None of that crappy stuff happens. So let's move on to the defense here. And overall, I'm very happy with how they performed. They let up 20 points in general, and they had 2 turnovers. Our guy, Kyer Elam, at first I thought, you know what, he's kind of getting picked on. Then he gets that interception off the Chiefs drive. So the Bills go down, fumble the football. Then the Chiefs go down, throw a pick, and the first quarter's over, 0-0. Not how I thought this game was going to go, but, that's how it did go. And then later in the game, Taron Johnson seals it. Interception. Von Miller, 2 sacks. Matt Milano, he has a tackle for a loss. Shaq Lawson, sack. The Bills definitely got to the quarterback when we needed them to get there. And what I think that they did pretty well in this game was the contain for the most part. Now, Patrick Mahomes still got out and did some weird kind of like wiggly stuff like he always does, but I feel like he wasn't as big of a factor outside the pocket than he usually is. So I just shout out to the defense. Did a pretty good job. Good to see Kyer Elam back there. I mean, minus the whole Travis Kelce, eating us alive thing. I think the defense did a pretty solid job.
Yeah, there was a couple times in this game where Mahomes is breaking contain and, getting these first down runs, not even like huge runs, just enough to keep the drive alive. And I was like, dude, is this what everybody feels like when they're playing against Josh Allen? Because, this is super frustrating.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Von Miller, worth every penny. He adds 2 sacks today, like you said. The one that's going to fly under the radar because it doesn't show up as an actual sack. He
jumps over when he's getting tackled basically by Milano and still gets Mahomes.
I got a different one. It was 3rd down. The Chiefs got the ball inside our 20, and Mahomes breaks the pocket and he's starting to scramble.
Yeah.
And Miller just didn't give up on that play and gets him by his shoelace. And Mahomes knew it. We knew it. That was going for a first down and keeping that drive alive. And Von Miller saved it. Just something that it'll just show up in the stat sheet as a standard tackle. But that was a huge play in the game.
Von Miller, worth every penny. He definitely influenced the game and made his presence felt. So I agree with that.
Another guy worth every penny. Taron Johnson is just. He's just got this
at the
knack
beginning of the game, I thought he was getting picked on a little bit.
He was getting picked on, and
getting nervous.
It reminded me of a couple of years ago when he had that pick against Baltimore. We're talking about a guy that was benched early in the season for Cam Lewis because he was getting picked on. And in that game against Baltimore, he becomes our hero. And same thing today. He was kind of getting picked on early, getting beat a little bit. And when it mattered most, that was just an absolutely huge play to come down with that ball. This is a Chiefs offense. We can't talk about it enough about how explosive they can be. We talk about the 13 seconds. We talk about the 16,
Oh God,
14 seconds, whatever it was today. You know,
anything less than 20 seconds.
Right. How they're able to go down the field like at will at times. And,
Super frustrating.
you know, I know you were sitting on the couch watching the game and you saw us score the go-ahead touchdown and there was still a minute left
I was
on
like,
the
that's
clock.
too much time.
And
That's
you
too
were
much
like,
time.
Ooh. Yeah, and then, you know, for that play to happen and really seal off the victory, you know, that's when I started celebrating before the clock hit zeros, and I'm over here, you know, fist pumping, doing all my stuff quietly to myself.
Yep.
And
While
then
your
they're
wife's
like,
just like, I married this guy.
yeah,
Like,
and then they're like, oh, the refs are going to take another look at this one. And I was like, I
yeah,
celebrated
I was like,
early.
Are you actually kidding me right now? You're gonna look at this? Like, what is there to review?
Yeah, I thought
I
I
made a
did the
joke.
premature celebration there, and I panicked.
Yeah. I made a joke that when they panned over to the head ref and he's just like looking into the box and he's just talking, I made a joke like he was probably saying, "Yeah, guys, I don't know if I can overturn this one. There's not like this one's. If I do this one, like this place Buffalo might burn down the NFL. Like
We sure would.
They would if they overturn that. I don't know. I would be a loss for words. Like the NFL, I'd be like, this is what you're putting out there. Like, I understand rules and regulations, but like that, you're gonna take that away out of all the things that you've done today. You're gonna do that. Luckily, they didn't. But it wouldn't. To be honest, it wouldn't have shocked me if they did. You know.
Yeah,
So,
I wouldn't have been surprised. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from the refs, and
Yeah.
we already touched on them, but you know, we saw some of these ridiculous roughing the passer calls, you know, where quarterback still has the ball, so like it's a sack. We saw the Tom Brady one and the one in the Raiders game.
yeah,
It was on
Yeah.
Max Crosby. The quarterback still has the ball, and it's called.
Oh no,
roughing
that
the
was Chris
passer.
Jones who like stripped it away, but it was a roughing the passer, and then
Right.
it wasn't a strip. Like, I don't know.
NFL's got to figure out their officiating.
I think that's very important to mention that penalties and bad refereeing, it doesn't just happen to the Bills. It happens everywhere. But for this particular game, and I am biased, it felt like they were favoring the Chiefs so much more than us. So, anyways, Justin, do you want to wrap up about anything else you want to talk about on positive notes about this game before we get to the accolades?
Got to give a little nod to the special teams. Tyler Bass continues to be Bassomatic. What did you have?
Yeah.
B dollar sign. What was your one last year?
Dollar sign.
Ty dollar sign. Bass continues to be somebody that I don't really have to worry about. And
Well, that one kick that he had was a little, I was like, oh my God. It was a little squeaky, but hey,
It went
squeaky clean.
yeah, and you know, overall, I feel like we don't get to talk about the special teams units on a whole here because we're not doing, you know, a ton of punting, a
Yeah,
ton
they
of
were
field
fine.
goals. But got to give them a little tip of the hat because it's
But that's
again
how you want it, right?
Yeah,
You don't want to have to think about it.
right, and it's a phase of the game that I don't have to think about. I'm glad we're not talking about punters
Borges.
being elite holders anymore. All that, it's just automatic for me for the most part. So
Yeah.
got to give them their props too.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy we don't have to talk about the punters being elite holders or, you know, horrible allegations associated with them. Like, I just want you to, like, kick the football and hold the football effectively. Like,
Thank you. See you next week.
Yeah. All right. Good job, guys. Here's your game check. Don't do anything stupid when you're not wearing the uniform. That'd be great. That'd be fantastic. All right. Let's get to the, you know, awards here. And player of the game. Justin, who do you want as your player of the game?
That's got to be my guy, Steph Diggs, for me. I mean, we talked about him earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of week in, week out. It's kind of like the performances we get from Josh Allen. Like, you almost don't even think about, like, how high of a level these dudes are playing at compared to the rest of the league. I don't know about you, but I tuned into that Thursday night game, and
That's so bad.
I was talking to my brothers, and I was like, dude, I'm so happy that, like, we're where we are with our team right now because, like, this is what we used to watch every Sunday. Like,
you know what? Oh
how
my
many
God,
Sundays I wasted watching teams that
when
looked
you
like
bring
this.
up that Thursday night game, everyone's like, "Oh, Justin Fields is technically outperforming Josh Allen." Like, when he was in his second year, like, yes, but that jump that Josh Allen had from year 1 to year 2 was pretty big in its own rights. But that jump from year 2 to year 3,
Unprecedented.
Yeah, like, that's just something that doesn't happen. I don't know if Justin Fields can make that big of a jump. Like, it's not fair to other developing quarterbacks, and Justin Fields has like been in a really bad situation. Like, he gets drafted, that whole regime gets flipped, gets a new head coach, gets another new head coach, like all this other crazy stuff. They trade away his number 1 wide receiver, or he leaves, and it's just buns. And you expect him to make the jump
Straight
that
buns.
Josh Allen made? Like, dude, come on, be fair, be realistic. You know, it ain't happening. But I agree with you. I got to give it to Stephon Diggs. I really think that it could be Josh almost every single week, but we can't pick Josh every single week just because, like, then it's just Josh every single week, right? We got to
stop doing it.
Yeah, we got to give some flavors out here. We might as well have like player of the game and Josh in the game. Josh in the game is Josh, like, right?
Josh was out there. He did MVP things.
Yeah, it's Josh. Josh of the game
guy.
goes to Josh. Player of the game goes to Stephon Diggs. No doubt. 10 catches, 148, average of 14.8 yards, touchdown, 31 long, 13 targets. Man was awesome. Ken Dorsey Tablet Award for the player that makes you want to take your tablet like Ken Dorsey and just break it over your knees, just act like a quote-unquote psychopath. And I'll go here, and I think you're going to agree with me. And if you're listening to this, you'll probably agree with me too. One, Isaiah McKenzie. God, you did not do well out there. The guy had 2 catches off 5 targets, and the other 3 were drops. So, or him tripping.
I can't argue with you on that one. This is a game to have a nice short-term memory on. Mm-hmm. I was texting our producer during the game, and he missed a little bit of the game, and he was kind of doing, our early inclinations of who these awards might go to.
It was so obvious.
he said my early vote for this award it's probably McKenzie, right? And I texted him back. I said, if anybody catches up to McKenzie to take this award away from him,
we're losing by 40.
We're losing this game. So I'm glad nobody took it from McKenzie.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I have some confidence in McKenzie to bounce back next week and 2 weeks.
You know what? I agree with you.
On.
I think McKenzie selflessly was just like, guys, I'll take all the bad stuff and I'll just produce negatively. Everyone else just have a great day. I'll take all the bad stuff. He's the real fallen hero here. So let's not forget about that. Isaiah McKenzie, not player of the game. Ken Dorsey Tablet Award player. You did good in a bad way.
We love you.
All right, well, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for today's episode. Thanks for listening. Again, you can find our podcast on the Buffalo Fanbase Network and our show, the Wandering Buffalo Podcast, on most social media platforms and even on YouTube. So make sure to check us out. Check out Buffalo Fanbase, 26 shirts, all the good stuff. And hey, as always, we love you. We love Josh Allen. We love the Buffalo Bills. And just again, go Bills.
Go Bills.